It's time for Fantasy Football Semi-Pros.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football Semi-Pros. I'm Brandon. With me is Ryan. Ryan, what's airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
Unladen swallow, is it African or European?
Good question.
European is 26.2 meters per second.
I just wanted to throw a curveball instead of asking how you're doing today.
Do not test my knowledge of Monty Python and the Holy Grail knowledge. All right.
Now,
get to it.
Now we got the fun stuff out of the way. This week...
This is going to be fun, too.
Well, yeah.
No, this part coming up right here.
So this week, what we're going to do, we're going to go over Devon versus the coin, go over the standings, let Devon make her picks, let Ryan tell you the coin's picks. We'll go over our waiver wire ads, our streaming defenses, and we'll review the Week 5 games. So, jumping into it, this week, so far, not including Monday night.
Nope. So not tonight.
The coin is 9-6, bringing their overall record to 36-42, and Devon is currently 8-7. Devon, how's that feel?
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Not great at all.
I still feel like that's Michael Scott.
No.
Sounds just like...
Well, anyways, I will say the coin picked Colts. I think Devon picked Baltimore. So, the best Devon can do this week is a tie.
With the coin.
Yep.
But Devon is still leading 45-33 overall.
Yep.
Compared to 35 and 42.
All right.
It's a helmet. It's a helmet. It's not football.
Well, I couldn't see it. I'm too short.
All right, with me here is my wife with the Week 6 picks.
I gotta do better this time.
Yeah, well, this first game I see who you picked already between the Buccaneers and Eagles. Now, I will say that the Eagles kind of shocked a lot of people, I would say. They beat the Panthers this week.
I don't think they're gonna shock Tom Brady.
No, you're probably right, but I feel like a lot of people picked the Bucs against the Rams, and hey, you know what? The Rams won that game. But anyway, so you're taking the who between the Buccaneers and the Eagles?
The Buccaneers.
Okay, the coin took the Eagles.
We're off to a good start.
Yes, we are.
So you think?
All right. These two teams are playing in London this weekend, so it's another 9:30 start.
In London?
Yeah, they played a game in London this week.
Oh,
the
that's
Jets
fun.
and Falcons played in London. Falcons won that one pretty easily. But anyway, Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I will say, if I remember correctly, the Jaguars have a pretty solid record in London. I think they're like 2-1 since this has started.
They've played more than 3 games in London.
They have a winning record.
They play
over there.
every year in London.
Because in
Except
London
last
they're
year.
Jaguars.
Well, yeah. Wait, who did you take? The Jaguars or the Dolphins?
The Dolphins.
I will say, look for James Robinson to have a really good week this week against that Dolphins defense. And you said the Dolphins?
Yes.
Whew. This was going to be a tough one because, I mean, Jacksonville's lost 5 games already this season, so 15 last year plus these 20 in a row. Ooh, oofda. The coin took the Jags. This could be that time they get over the hump. All right, next game. Packers travel to Chicago and take on the Bears.
Packers.
That was a quick answer. The coin said the Bears. Wow. The coin has said everybody that Devon hasn't said.
It's good news, right? I'm either going to win by a lot or lose terribly.
I know the last time I thought the
The
Bears.
Spectacularly.
Spectacularly.
The last time I thought the Bears were going to lose at home, they beat the Bengals. So, anyway, speaking of the Bengals are hosting the Detroit Lions in well,
Are they
no,
hosting?
they're not. No, they're not.
Detroit.
Sorry, I
It's in
stand
Detroit,
corrected.
isn't it?
It's in Detroit, in the Superdome. Well, it's not really a Superdome. That's New Orleans. Hagford, something.
Ford.
I
That
don't
seems
know.
right.
Don't know what it is. But Bengals at Lions, who you
Bengals.
got? The coin also has the Bengals. But this Lions team isn't finishing it, but they've been in some pretty good games. They just can't finish it. So again, coin says Bengals, Devon says Bengals. All
Yes.
right. Woo, 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 woo. Next game. Houston Texans travel to Indianapolis to face off with the Colts. So it's
I
gonna
was a little on the fence here.
well, it's gonna be a short game for the Colts because they're playing tonight in about an hour. So
Well, I picked the Colts.
you pick the Colts, probably fair. I think Tyrod Taylor can come back, or is that
Not
week
likely.
7?
He can. He's not likely.
Well, that's unfortunate for me. Davis Mills looked good though last week. Bad defense he played against, but that offense looked better. Even though Brandon Cooks did not look very good. But the coin also says the Colts. Oof. Oof. The Rams travel to New York to take on the Giants.
Pick the Rams.
Yeah, so the coin. Okay,
Stupid coin.
Chiefs at the Washington football team.
I went Chiefs.
So did the coin. The Chiefs haven't looked all that great this year. I mean, they played a really, really tough first 5-game schedule to open the season, but they're currently 2-3. They lost last night pretty badly to the Bills.
Maybe this will be their grand comeback.
Yeah, maybe. It's a long season. Gotta break the season down in the quarters. So, all right, next game. Minnesota Vikings travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Who you got?
I went Vikings.
The coin said Vikings as well. I don't know. These last couple weeks, the Vikings just haven't looked very good, but neither have the Panthers. So it's gonna be a rebound game for one of them. All right. Chargers at the Baltimore Ravens. Again, it's a short week for the Ravens because they're playing tonight and they got to play on Sunday.
I was on the fence on this one too.
This is a good matchup. The Ravens are favored by 3.5, and the FPI poll says they have a 59% chance of winning.
Feel like I originally picked Chargers, but I want to switch to Ravens. I'm going to go with the Ravens.
The coin says Chargers. That's a tough game. I don't want to pick that one. All right, so next up, the only undefeated team left in the NFL, traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Doesn't really work that way. I know it's the Bears, but Arizona Cardinals.
I believe they will continue to be undefeated.
I don't know. Baker's got that offense cooking this last week, but who
I
knows?
think the Browns will be the one to ruin their winning streak.
That's why you play the game. I never thought the Giants would beat the Saints.
Fair.
Yeah. So the coin said the Browns. And you're saying the Cardinals, correct?
I'm going to be really upset if it's the Browns now.
Yeah, me too, because I'm slowly turning into a Cardinals fan.
It's not slowly.
Raiders at Broncos. Oh, man. Two teams that started off hot and have dropped both of their last 2 games.
I was on the fence on this one too, and I picked the Raiders just because of Derek Carrier.
That's fair. I would have done the same thing. But the coin says Broncos. Now, here's my thing. Carr hasn't looked very good these last 2 weeks. The Broncos looked great against teams that were at that time winless. Their first 3 wins of the season were against teams that were 0-9 combined. So, now that they're playing some good some good teams, they're not doing very well. But I wouldn't call the Steelers good just yet. I did say the coin took the Broncos, though, correct?
Yes.
All right. Cowboys at Patriots.
I was undecided on this one. What's the spread?
Cowboys by -3.5. I feel like
Cowboys?
that's really low. The Patriots aren't great.
I starred them. I was thinking Cowboys. It just seemed wrong. But I guess I guess Tom Brady's not there anymore, so
It does feel
Cowboys
wrong
it is.
pointing the Cowboy, picking the
Cowboys
Yeah,
it is.
it really does. Well, the coin said the Patriots, and for my cousin Will,
Well, I'm definitely doing the Cowboys then. Sorry, coin.
Yeah, well, I mean, for my cousin Will, I hope the Patriots. I'm rooting for Mac Jones. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, so we'll see if that offense can ever get going. Coin says Patriots. Seahawks, Steelers. Who you got? This is the Sunday night football game.
It's in Pittsburgh.
Yes, it's in
I'm
Pittsburgh.
gonna go Steelers.
The coin says Seahawks, and I was down on the Steelers, but they've proven they're a decent team now. That defense starting to show up.
I feel like their fans are intense. They probably do well at home.
Well, I did say coin, Seahawks, you, Steelers.
Yep.
And to round out and finish up week 6 is Monday night game. The Bills versus Titans.
Bills.
Bills versus Titans. Oh, you're just taking the Bills straight up? That's fair. I don't know if the Bills have played any good running teams yet, besides Najee.
Are the Titans a good running team?
Yeah, they have Derrick Henry. He has 40 points a game.
Oh, yeah, I know who Derrick Henry is.
If you have Derrick Henry in your lineup and it's the
I heard
first
that
half,
a few
and
times.
if Derrick Henry has 5 points at halftime, you just know he's going to go off for like 35 in the second half. But the coin also says the Bills, and that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Next week is also the first week of bye week, so you didn't see the Saints on there, and that's the only one I can really think
Jets,
of.
Falcons,
Jets, Falcons, Saints.
49ers.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Alrighty.
Oh, well. And good luck. Do we have something here to play?
We don't have to. It's
Oh, yeah, whatever. Ooh, Green Bay might be another streaming defense this week.
All right, so those are Devon's picks. Devon versus the coin.
Yeah.
All right, so next we're going to go ahead and move on to our waiver wire ads. Now, these ones are... Sorry, didn't mean to bump you.
Touch my bum.
I got the side of your leg.
It was my butt cheek. But, okay, I digress.
So this...
Getting a little handsy.
We are getting to the point where you've got to start looking ahead on what are your team needs, bye weeks and everything with this.
Oh, goodness.
Really, right now, my number one waiver wire ad for this week is Kadarius Toney.
I think he's got to be...
But
Can I tell them the story, the embarrassing story?
that depends on what you need. Go ahead with your story.
I sat there and I literally flipped a coin playing him in our redraft league this week, and I flipped a coin. Kenny Galladay or Kadarius Toney. They're both available. Didn't even have to make a waiver claim. They were just free agents. I said, heads Galladay, tails Toney. Guess what? It was heads. Guess what? Galladay has 0 points because he got hurt.
I didn't know you made that coin flip.
I like Toney. I have him in my dynasty league, and he did good. So if I would have played him, I'd be down by 10 right now with Jonathan Taylor going and Rodrigo Blankenship.
But right now, Kadarius Toney, he's only 32% rostered. While Shepard, Galladay, and Slayton are out, his outlook's going to be better. But at this point, I don't see how he's going to go to being a non-factor again.
Yeah, I think even when those guys come back, because, I mean, oh, man, Galladay's injury history, Slayton and Shepard have been out the last 2 weeks. I think if Toney stays healthy, he solidified his number, at least a number 3 slot receiver role.
I mean, last night, what we saw him do was the same thing he was doing to the people when he was playing for Florida.
Yeah, number 1 wide receiver, just running.
The only thing he needs to do is just keep his attitude in check.
Yeah, he did get ejected. I don't know if that's going to come with any consequences this week or not.
Begs the question. I think it's asked every time. Why do you punch a helmet? You're never going to win that fight.
I'm not a very smart man. Obviously, I played Galladay over Toney, but I don't know. You're not going to break those helmets.
If anything, you're going to hurt your hand.
Yeah, I don't know.
But back to this. So the next ones, they're in really no particular order. Like I said, it kind of depends on what you need. Alex Collins, he's at that 50% roster spot. We don't know if this neck thing's going to stay flared up with
Chris
Chris Carson, how long he's going to be out.
How long is Russell Wilson going to be out, and will that affect his,
Good call.
His
But
potential points?
We also have Devante Booker. Now, this is going to be shorter term than I probably thought last night.
Yeah, that ankle looked gross. Saquon's ankle looked like a baseball in it.
Yep. But even without Daniel Jones, even though he probably should be back, and without their 3 receivers, they were able to move the ball last night, and Booker ran and caught the ball well.
Yeah, and they went up against a pretty decent defense. I'm not going to say the Cowboys are who you want in your defensive slot week in and week out, but they look decent. Matt Glennon. I mean, he's a seasoned veteran. Mike Glennon. You can throw him out there, and he's going to do.
He's a professional QB, professional NFL QB backup.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Danny Dimes, but he's serviceable for right now until Jones is healthy again. So, I wouldn't shy away from Devante Booker right now if I need a running back.
And ideally, this guy, he's just a 1 week fill-in, but we never know. Saquon does seem to heal a little quicker, but
the amount that he is injured, Devante Booker could get some standalone value here soon. So if you can get him, get him.
Yep. Next one I have on here, Tim Patrick. He's 43% rostered. Last year and this year, no one wants to pick this guy up.
Yeah, I saw he's available in our keeper league, and I'm sitting here thinking, but I have.
But you have Galladay.
I have Galladay, yeah. I mean, who else do I need? That's fine, but I have Julio Jones probably coming off the IR. I'm still iffy if I want to play him at all. Yeah. I mean, my running backs are the strength of my team: Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson, and Alvin Kamara. Kyler Murray at QB.
But yeah, for some reason, people don't want to pick up Tim Patrick. Could it be because he has 2 first names?
I don't know, but he's
not that sexy play.
No, I mean, I looked at his stats today, just going through who I could go after to see who could help me, because I always have 1 or 2 players that just put up zeros. And last week it was CD Lamb and TJ Hawkinson. This week it was Kenny Galladay and TJ Hawkinson. But Tim Patrick's got about 13 points a game each week.
Yeah, especially since, Judy's been hurt.
Judy's gone, so that only helps him.
The next one, Dan Arnold, if you need a tight end. Dan Arnold, we'll talk about how he did later, but I think he led the team in targets this week for Jacksonville.
Okay, well, I need him.
And
everybody else stay away.
Well.
You already put a claim in.
Not yet. I don't know if I need to, because with the news of Travis Kelce having a stinger, stingers can last anywhere from like a couple minutes to multiple weeks.
Well, we can talk about that later. That was rough.
But if you need a tight end, and especially bye weeks, Dan Arnold's a good bye week fill-in as of right now.
Not terrible.
And then the next one I want to add on here, we don't know the severity of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's injury, but Darrell Williams, I think he's going to be just as good, if not better, than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And the reason I think he might be better, they trust him around the goal line.
Yeah, and I think CEH is going to be fine. He walked to the x-ray room, but I haven't heard any reports at all about it. But Darrell Williams, man, I just feel when you go and draft a running back as high as CEH was on this team that, the year prior had won a Super Bowl, and you're Darrell Williams, you're like, well, crap.
Yeah.
I'm more than worthy to get my touches.
Well, I mean, he was already the backup before Clyde Edwards-Helaire to Damian Williams.
Yeah.
And then
he's just getting never really. He takes advantage of his opportunities.
He's not a true workhorse. He's always going to be that backup, secondary guy.
The vulture. But trustworthy when necessary.
Yep, so that's my list of waiver wire ads. Ryan, anybody you wanted to add on here that was around 50% or less?
I don't really pay attention to what they're rostered in. And no, I think everybody here that you have is definitely probably a good a good option. But if you are in a single QB league and Matt Ryan's out there, just go take a look at his numbers.
You could probably wait and pick him up after waivers.
Yeah, I
run,
wouldn't
especially because he's not playing this week.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing.
So Ryan mentioned we do have buys starting this week. This is where you can start playing those types of games.
Yeah.
Look at a defense that maybe they got to buy this week, but next week or a couple weeks they have good matchups.
So they might be dropped.
Grab them out their waivers.
Yep.
Same with kickers.
I'm at a point where since we play a median, I'm 2-8, but really I'm 1-4 in head-to-head. My keeper league season's over. My dynasty team, I feel like is still picking it up. I'm competing. I just have the most points scored against me in the entire league.
He's also one of the lower scorers too.
I think I'm like fourth lowest.
Going off of that, you are not out of it. Just think, right now,
Man, no.
only a third of the season is done.
Ugh.
Fantasy football, while it's a season-long game, you got to look at it as a week-to-week game.
Yeah, well, if I don't start going 2-0 in that league, week in and week out for the next 6
Not
weeks,
necessarily.
I'm probably out.
If you remember a few years ago when you were just playing poorly and you end up finishing last, it came down to that last week on whether or not you made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So even if you're 0-5, 1-4,
Guess who?
do not quit yet.
Guess who screwed the pooch for me that week too? Kenny Galladay. Kept me out of the playoffs.
Sometimes you just don't learn. So next thing I wanted to move my defensive streamers. There's not many defenses out there that I like that were below 50% rostered. Which, if you're looking for a streamer, you're looking for those less rostered teams.
I mean, most of them are gobbled up right now.
But Indianapolis, they play Houston this week. I feel like this game for Davis Mills, like he's not going to be this good every week.
No, because he was fantasy football viable last week.
Yeah. And I think his norm is closer to his first two starts than this last start. So Indianapolis could be a good defensive streamer this week. And Ryan's going to kick me on this one. Because last time I suggested them, he picked them up, and it was not a good week for him.
Negative points.
But Cincinnati plays Detroit, and Detroit has so few weapons there, and Goff seems kind of like a one-read guy again.
Yeah, Goff does not go through progressions. He just, this is my hot route, this is my one read, and I'm just going to stick with it no matter what.
So those are my two streaming defenses of the week. Like I said, though, with bye weeks coming up, it's always good to kind of try to look a week ahead. And you can always try to save that waiver wire claim by doing so.
Yeah, another team I would consider this week for defense, sorry, I just got really hot in here, is Green Bay. I mean, they play Chicago. Chicago's on and off again.
The thing with Chicago,
is good or it's not good. It's really hard to tell.
The thing with Chicago right there, a lot of your points on defense are coming from turnovers, sacks, that kind of thing. And Chicago, I think I looked at it, and Justin Fields only threw like 17 times. So while they could be a good defense, they may not be point friendly.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I was just throwing that out there as I can't get either one of these guys. Maybe Green Bay might be. I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. All right, so that was our waiver wire and defensive streamers. So we'll start with our Week 5 review. We'll start with the Thursday night game. The Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams won 26-17. The big storyline here, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So apparently he tore a ligament in the top part of his finger.
Middle finger.
Yeah, top part of his middle finger.
Yeah. Did you see it?
And yeah, I saw pictures of
dude.
it. But not only that, there was a fractured dislocation right here.
Yeah, it was really gross.
And from what I was hearing, there's one podcast, there's one analyst I really like to listen to with injuries, Stefania Bell on ESPN. She's very knowledgeable. She said this one, like, Russell Wilson's a fast healer.
He's young.
He's always fighting to come back quick.
Mm-hmm.
He's shooting for the 4-week time frame. but that's not likely going to happen.
It's going to be closer to 6 to 8.
Yeah, because they said if he pushes it too soon, that ligament that they repaired is so thin. Like, if he tries to bend it, he can rip it.
Oh, that's disgusting.
And that's just going to put his time frame back a little bit further.
And I've dislocated every single one of my fingers and broken both of my thumbs. I've broken many fingers as well. But, man, I tell you what, those dislocations aren't something to mess around with. My knuckles are still all kinds of messed up.
She was saying, like, the earlier you come back, and as for most things, but this one has a high chance of reoccurrence if you come back way too early.
Yeah, well, once you dislocate one finger, it's really easy to re-dislocate it.
Well, not only that, the tendon part is what we're talking about.
Man, that's disgusting.
If it gets to 6 to 8 week, she's saying there's a lot less of a chance. After 8 week, you should be good.
Right. Okay.
So, if you have Russell Wilson, be prepared to be without him for a while. If you have an IR spot, put him in there. Otherwise, you're probably dropping him.
Yeah.
As for this, though, Stafford, 25 of 37, 365 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Henderson, he's the back that you want for the Rams. Tyson Williams is back in the lineup Monday Night Football versus the Colts.
Yeah, we just got that notification, so.
One thing I did, I had Trey Lance in our keeper league. I dropped him today for Tyson Williams, just on that off chance that Tyson breaks out this week.
Yeah, I was thinking about just picking him up and maybe playing for Jonathan Taylor.
So, I mean, if you're watching this live, that might be something you can do real quick before the game start.
So now if you drop him, I can't even pick him up and put him in my flex against you.
Not this week. Nope.
Damn.
So back to the Rams at Seattle. Henderson, the back you want. Michelle, he's going to be viable if Henderson's out.
Yeah.
He had 11 carries for 37 yards and a TD and 1 reception. But other than that, you're not really using him. Woods, he had a game. 12 receptions, 150 yards.
Yeah,
they finally got him some.
Broke out of that shell there.
I'm still kind of hesitant on playing him right now. I want to see it another week to see if this kind of chemistry continues.
Yeah.
But
I think Stafford's chemistry is better with Kupp.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, I mean, I think both are viable options. Through 4 weeks.
But
Woods.
I don't know that Woods is the wide receiver 2 that you've grown accustomed to being. He's probably a wide receiver 3 flex option now.
Right now, yes. He's a really good option to have in your flex.
Potentially, yeah.
If you have 2 guys better than that.
As for the
Devon.
Seahawks side of this ball, Geno Smith looked fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go rushing out to pick him up unless it's like a Dynasty Superflex league. Metcalf and Lockett, you're not benching them, but I expect to see a slight depreciation in their scoring.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the moon balls that Tyler Lockett
No.
benefits from, and I think this is probably the time that Metcalf really steps up because he can just body people and box them out and get the ball.
I will
10 yards
say,
downfield.
If I recall, Seattle's schedule the next 4 weeks isn't really that bad.
No, I mean,
I know they got Jacksonville in there, Pittsburgh.
They got Pittsburgh this coming week.
Which jury's still out on them.
I'd still. Yeah.
And then they got to buy somewhere in the next 4 or 5 weeks too. Anything to add on this game?
No, I think Tyler Higbee got hurt during this game.
I don't remember seeing anything.
He didn't have a whole lot of targets in this one.
Well, they all went to Woods and Kupp.
Yeah, two receptions for 14 yards. But I have him in a league where I'm rebuilding in a dynasty, and he's just in there to be in there.
There's worse options you can run out there at tight end, right?
Thought it said something about questionable, but I would keep an eye on that. I could be wrong. I still think Woods is a good flex play, like you said. Kupp is definitely a wide receiver 2 play.
Wide receiver 1.
We apologize to anybody who we steered in the wrong direction on Henderson. He seems to be coming around and getting the touches he deserves as well. So, this offense is good.
All right, so we'll move on to our next game. The Jets at the Falcons played in London. Both of us picked the Jets, and both of us were wrong. The Falcons won 27-20.
That score does not indicate how big of a blowout that was. The Falcons could have easily, without turning the ball over, they had 2 or 3 fumbles there during the game inside the Jets' red zone. Yeah. They could have put that away early on. But
I will say, looking at these, there's no real sense in talking about the Jets. It's getting harder and harder to start anyone. Even Davis or Crowder.
Yeah.
Carter still, if you're running back desperate, somebody you might be able to plug in. He did have 10 carries for 38 yards, 1 TD, 3 receptions, and 20 yards.
Yeah, he's a good flex. I wouldn't even call him
I wouldn't even call him a flex. He's a bye-week fill-in.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
As for the Falcons, remember, they're on a bye this week as well. Matt Ryan looked good, 33 of 45, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 carry, -1 yard.
Yep.
I mean, I'm probably not running with him at my QB, but if you need a 1-week bye-week fill-in,
he's a great fill-in.
He could be, yeah. Cordero Patterson, 0 completions for 1 attempt.
But he did get popped pretty hard on that play. I remember, and he left the game for a few plays. I think the rest of the series, and I thought, oh no, should I play him?
That one went in early.
Yeah, but he came back.
He ended up with 14 carries, 54 yards, 7 receptions, 60 yards. There's always one player every year that kind of just he shows out, and we always kind of say like, okay, he's going to come back to his norm, and it just never happens.
I hope it's this guy.
It could be Patterson this year. If you have him, you're probably running out, and at least your flex, depending on his eligibility, maybe a running back 2 or wide receiver 2.
But let's not get it twisted, dynasty owners. This is a 1-year loan.
Probably. I mean, he's in his 8th year. He's his 5th different team.
Yeah, he's in his 30s, so...
He's always had the potential to break out. He's always had that athletic ability.
I just don't
Who would be the Falcons that could get it out of him?
I just don't think he ever found his home. But just don't get too excited. Like you said, he might come back down to his level that we're used to.
Mike Davis didn't look bad. 13 carries, 53 yards, 1 TD, 2 receptions for 8 yards. But it kind of looks like whenever he gets the ball, the Falcons' offensive line doesn't want to block.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't know if he said anything to anger them. Maybe he just needs to take his offensive line out for a dinner or something.
Steak dinner. It's the QB special.
And then Pitts. Pitts, 9 receptions, 119 yards, 1 TD. He's not going to be like this every week.
No, you're not going to play starting to make my 1.2 dynasty draft pick overall look good.
Yeah, he's not going to play the Jets every week. He's not going to be pretty much the sole option at basically wide receiver. But like I said, he started out slow, but he's starting to pick it up.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be...
My advice of patience...
You offered me a trade for him.
I did.
Turned it down.
I know, but you were getting frustrated with them.
Well, you can, man. I'm not asking for 30-point games every week. I'm asking for consistency, so I can kind of build my lineup and know what
rookie tight ends, they don't necessarily bring consistency. Tight ends don't bring consistency.
Yeah, just watch it. I'm going to bench Hawkinson this next coming week, and then he's going to go off against the Bengals.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the reason Hawkinson's struggle is he barely practiced at all this week. He's been suffering from a knee injury.
Yeah, I almost didn't play him because of that.
But Tajay Sharp had 4 receptions, 53 yards. You're not picking him up.
Mm-mm.
Hurst ended up with 4 for 40.
But
Smith 3 for 30.
I have Hurst as well in a dynasty league as almost like a handcuff to Pitts in case he's hurt. The first 3 receptions Hurst had, the first was in the end zone. As he crossed the goal line, he got hit and bobbled the ball, but ended up recatching it. His next reception was a fumble punched out by a defender, and the Jets recovered. The third reception he had, he got popped pretty good, and he fumbled the ball out of bounds. So, something to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if it was just the London whatever, but yeah, it was kind of weird to watch that happen from such a sure-handed guy.
So we're going to move on from this game. We got the Green Bay Packers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Packers won 25-22, but I'm not sure that any team actually wanted to win this near the end.
No, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. Here, you take it. Fine,
In case you guys missed,
it.
there's 5 missed field goals in the last 2 minutes of regulation and overtime.
Yeah, so like 8 minutes of game time, there was 5 field goals missed.
Really, though, overtime didn't really affect any of the quarterbacks' numbers other than I think one of them had an interception each.
No, I don't think Rodgers did.
Okay, yeah, Rodgers didn't throw an interception.
Burrow did, though.
Yeah, Burrow
the very
did.
first play of overtime in their own territory, and you're like, oh, here it goes. And then Crosby went and missed.
But, yeah. Rodgers had a good game, 27 of 39, 344 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Aaron Jones, other than rushing yards, Jones wasn't very fantasy productive.
Well, even you can look at that 103 rushing yards, but he had a 69-yard run there to set up that field goal attempt by Crosby with.
So I mean, overall, the Bengals have been pretty good against the run, except for one breakout play from Jones and Robinson on Thursday night.
Well, Robinson didn't have any really big break-off runs. He just had.
He was consistent.
3-4 here and then pop a 12-yard gain. Yeah, I mean, other than that.
Devante Adams.
Did Devante Adams things.
He did man things. 11 receptions, 208 yards, 1 TD, and he was almost doubled the whole game.
Yeah, that dude is good. That dude is good.
P. Ryan, I always wanted to bring him up. 11 carries, 59 yards, 4 receptions, 24 yards, and a TD. I told you, I mean, he didn't kill your team if you played him. And actually, I think he kept you guys afloat.
Yeah, well, I didn't play him.
I know, I'm just saying. Mixon, 10 carries, 33 yards, 1 TD. They said they were going to have him on a account about 10 to 15 touches.
And he got him 11.
Yep. That, I think, as he starts to come back from this ankle injury, he's going to ramp up a bit.
Yeah.
Just a note, though, P. Ryan did get put on the reserve COVID list. If he's vaccinated, I think, and he's showing no symptoms, it's just 2 negative tests, 24 hours apart.
Yeah, and he can play. But Chris Evans might be the guy. But
Mixon's probably still going to play, though. So.
Yeah, I'm not picking up Evans, especially in redraft.
Burrow had a decent game, 26 of 38, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The guy... I mean, I love Burrow, but he needs to stop trying to make the hero plays all the time because he's putting himself in ways to get
Here's
injured.
the thing, and we saw it against the Bears, too. I just think he plays so perfectly almost all the time that when he makes these boneheaded mistakes, you got to remember, this is only like his, 13th game starting?
Yeah. But
He's
no, I'm
still
not saying
very,
those. I mean,
very young quarterback.
What I'm saying is he puts his body on the line to make some plays that if they're punting on the next play, it's not the worst thing that can happen.
Right.
The longevity of his career, he needs to stop making some of those plays.
Don't take the hits. Yeah, I agree, but I mean, he's still starting to become the quarterback we saw, his fifth senior year at LSU.
Just a note, he was taken to the hospital after the game with a throat contusion. That was more precautionary. They were saying he was having some issues talking. He's been released, and they're saying he's likely going to play this week.
I hope.
Jamar Chase doing Jamar Chase things. 6 receptions, 159 yards, 1 TD. And his TD catches just keep getting more and more ridiculous each week.
And they all are over 30 yards or 40 yards or some crazy thing.
But the thing is, he's not just pigeonholing himself in that deep ball threat. He's catching the short routes. He's catching the intermediate routes now, too.
Yeah, his first reception of the game went for 7 yards. But I'm really interested to see. I don't know what happened to Higgins, but...
It was his first game back from injury.
I hope those numbers go up a little bit. I'd like to see him. He had a drop there towards the end of the game. Kind of hurt the offense there and led to a missed field goal. But.
Back to Chase real quick. There's only 2 players that are 2 players that are 21 years of age or younger with over 400 receiving yards and 5 TDs in their first 5 games. Jamar Chase is one. You want to take a guess at who the other is?
Are they playing now?
No.
Jerry Rice? No, because he came out of college, right? It's not Jerry Rice.
It is not Jerry Rice.
You got Moss. Randy Moss.
Randy Moss.
I don't know. I just saw it's on TV. You got Moss. Hey, that's good.
Randy Moss.
Thank you.
I will say, Higgins, he had 5 receptions for 32 yards. He's getting the target still. Better days are ahead.
I hope so.
All right, so we'll move on to Detroit and Minnesota. Detroit's had some heartbreaking losses this year. But hey, a Minnesota kicker finally hit a game-winning kick.
I'm not I'm concerned about this Vikings team. I had a lot more confidence in them, but I mean the Lions are right there, and Dan Campbell says he's in love. He loves this team. He loves coaching these guys, and they give the Detroit Lions credit where credit is due. They come out and they fight.
They fight till the bitter end.
They fight, but can we just talk about Goff here? 21 of 35, 203 yards and an interception. This dude does not get off of the first read.
Yeah.
And it's painstaking. If you have any of the Lions' weapons.
Well, they still have at least 2 weapons.
Hawkinson.
And Swift.
Yeah, because Cephas is hurt.
But even then,
shoulder.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 receptions, 65 yards.
He looks good.
He's getting there.
He looks good.
But Williams and Swift, they were both usable. Williams had 13 carries, 57 yards, 2 receptions for 8 yards. Swift had 11 carries for 51 yards, and 1 TD. But he had the receiving work, 6 receptions, 53 yards.
Yeah.
Both are usable still. Williams more so a flex. Quintus Cephas, 3 receptions, 38 yards. He was leading the team at the time of his injury in both receptions and yards. Do you remember what his injury was besides a shoulder injury?
It was dislocated collarbone.
That could keep him out for a while.
Yeah, it's either a dislocated or broken collarbone. Something to do with the collarbone. I'm kind of really confused of, Khalif Raymond had a good day last week.
He only had 2 catches last week.
Yeah, but
it just happened to be for touchdowns.
Yeah, it was really nice. But I don't know where he was. He didn't have anything this week. Hopefully Hawkinson. I think we're going to see a lot more 2 running back sets now.
Hawkinson, I think better days are definitely ahead.
I hope.
If
Please, God.
if you know the Hawkinson owner is frustrated with him, try to see if you can buy low right now. He's not going to be that set it and forget it, locked in tight end that we thought they were.
Even though Sleeper says, even though he's been struggling, he's still set it and forget it.
But I mean, with the lack of weapons outside, he's not going to be right now. But I still think he's better than most of the tight ends that you're going to be running out there. If you don't have the Kittle or the Waller.
Mm-hmm.
Or even right now, the Knox.
The Knox.
But we're not going to talk about harp on Hawkinson. We've already talked about him quite a bit.
Yeah, sorry, everybody.
As for the Viking side of this ball, Kirk Cousins, he's still usable. 25 of 35, 275 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Alexander Madison, though, they have 2 running back ones on their roster.
Yeah, this Madison kid's insane. I think he's putting up better numbers than Dalvin Cook has all season combined, and just pick one of the games that he's played in.
Yeah, and if you have a plethora of running backs, and one of those is Madison, approach that Dalvin Cook owner and is like, hey, what is Madison worth to you? Dalvin Cook's already missed 2 games this year. See if you can trade high.
Get a wide receiver or somebody tight end.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions, 124 yards. Thielen, 2 receptions, 40 yards. He's, I think, becoming touchdown dependent wide receiver.
Touchdowns only.
All right, so next, you want to talk for a minute?
Yeah, okay, over there. Who we got?
Yeah.
Where we at? I scrolled all the way down.
Our next game, Denver at Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, got it. Hey, Teddy Bridgewater coming back from a concussion. I mean, he has a solid completion percentage, going 24 for 38, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But Gordon and Williams both split their carries pretty even. But I think it's starting to lean more towards Williams in the backfield.
Touches, they were dead even. 8 carries, 3 receptions for Williams, 9 carries, 2 receptions for Gordon. But Williams just seems like the better runner right now. He's breaking tackles. And, I mean, he had 51 yards on 61 yards on 8 carries, 25 yards on 3 receptions. He's outgaining Gordon.
Yeah, but again, it's like
Gordon's been battling an injury though.
If you watch it, it's like, are these guys even blocking for Gordon?
Well, in the end, that's what you're looking at. I mean,
why is Gordon getting hit as soon as he's getting the ball handed off to him? And Devante Williams has 5 yards of separation to get to.
I don't know that he's having 5 yards of separation. He has quite a few yards after contact.
Well, I'm saying he's at least getting to the line of scrimmage before he's hit. Not every time, but it just seems like Gordon's getting the short end of the straw.
Courtney Sutton back to what we were kind of hoping he'd start doing, based off of what he did 2 years ago. Really 7 receptions, 120 yards, 1 TD.
Oh, it's a 30-point game there for whoever owns him.
Tim Patrick, we mentioned as a waiver wire pickup. 7 receptions, 89 yards. Hinton, I can't remember his first name right now, but he ended up with 2 receptions, 25 yards, and a TD. You're not picking him up.
No.
He's kind of in that same mold as Hawkinson right now. Like, he has that potential to be a good tight end, but unlike Hawkinson, he has 2 receivers that are kind of taking the mantle around him.
Mm-hmm.
As for Pittsburgh side, Roethlisberger, he went 15 of 25, but he threw the ball well.
Yeah, I mean, he hit, who was it? Little Johnson on a 50-yard touchdown pretty early in the game. Little Deontay Johnson.
There you go, Deontay Johnson.
What'd I say?
Will Johnson.
I thought I said Will.
Wow.
Little Johnson. No, whatever.
Yeah, Johnson, this was an off game for him. 2 receptions, 72 yards, and a TD. Better days are going to be ahead, especially with the news that Juju, he's likely done for the year. He's scheduled to have shoulder surgery later this week. Yeah, that's bad news for Juju.
Yeah, and
I'm not a fan of Juju, but
I feel bad for the guy I just traded Juju to. Sorry, Steven. But yeah, I mean, right now Claypool's the guy. Johnson's supposed to be the guy, but James Washington could be somebody to keep an eye on right now.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago when they had some receivers out, I think he ended up with double-digit fantasy points.
Yeah, but that was one day.
One game, but now they're still experiencing injuries. But I know they were working out Anthony Miller.
What a catch.
Najee Harris, though, there's nothing to say. He's a staple in your lineup except for bye weeks.
Put him in your RB1 slot and forget about it.
All right, so our next game we have Miami at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay won 45-17, but this game stayed closer for a while.
I mean, Tom Brady putting up 50 fantasy points this week. You're up 34-17 with 8 minutes to go. Why are you still pounding points into the end zone? Like,
it's been a Tom Brady staple.
It's a Bruce Arians staple because that's all they do. Is just
Tom Brady's what, 43, 44? I can't remember.
Years old?
Yeah.
I thought he was like 50.
No, he wants to play until he's
42, but
he might be the best quarterback in the league still.
Yeah, I mean, it was 31-17 with like 8.5 to go. I can see getting one more touchdown.
And guys, Tom Brady had double-digit yards on 1 carry.
Uh-oh.
As for the Miami side of this, Jacoby Brissett.
He's benched as soon as Tua's back.
You're still not starting him. He had a decent game, but something we never really see. He got carted to the locker room and then carted back to the field. That's how bad they wanted him to play over there and back up.
Yeah, and man, we heard a lot of talk earlier about Deshaun Watson going to Miami. I don't know why he would go there, but maybe it's something we see soon if Texans...
Potentially. It depends on how long Tua's out, but I think they said he ramped up a little bit more this week.
Yeah, I
saw that notification.
He was throwing earlier today.
As for Myles Gaskin, you guys probably benched him, and I would have given you that same advice. And even now, he had 5 carries for 25 yards, 10 receptions for 74 yards, and 2 TDs. I still don't know that I trust him enough to start him again next week.
No, I would not play him. I can't even remember who they're playing, but let me go up here. Miami, Jags in London.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him again. Surprisingly, Jacksonville's defense is okay.
Really, the only person I'm saying that I would consistently start on this team is Gaskin.
And even he had a bad game this week. But
I mean,
right.
that's the typical tight end, though.
Yeah, I think once 2 is back, Waddle's stock rises.
Yeah.
I think right now under center Brissett really.
And I think once
favors
Fuller's back, it helps Waddle even more as well.
Waddle. Yeah, you're right.
As for the Buccaneers side, Fournette, he had not the game we were hoping, but he still had a good game.
You're playing Brady. You're playing Fournette. You're playing Godwin now. You're playing Mike Evans. You're playing A.J. Brown. Antonio Brown. And when Rob Gronkowski's back, you're playing Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah. The thing is...
Play their entire offense, except for Ronald Jones right now.
The thing is, it's going to be a wide receiver carousel. I think when Gronk comes back, one of these 2 or 3 guys is going to be the odd man out each week.
If they keep throwing 40 times a game, I think they'll be okay.
Potentially, yes, but I'm just saying, we kind of saw it when Gronk was there. One receiver each week seemed like he was the odd man out.
Yeah, and we'll see. And if you need a flex option in deeper leagues or bye weeks, you said it last week, Giovanni Bernard, I mean, he posted, I think, 10 points, 10.6 points.
He had 4 carries for 21 yards, 2 receptions, 14 yards, and a TD. So back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but...
Because he didn't play last week.
Yeah, back-to-back games he's played, he's had a TD.
Right, and he might... Yeah, I mean, deep leagues, bye-week film.
As long as Gronk's out, Brown seems to be Brady's
guy.
safety blanket.
Yep, you're right.
So you're definitely running Brown out there as long as Gronk's out.
Yeah.
Our next game, New Orleans Saints at Washington football team.
This was the only game that we picked differently in our pick'em.
The Saints, and I heard this said earlier, they are the worst good team I've ever seen.
They have all the tools there to be great. They just,
you can't tell me if this team is good or not, really.
So because we both, I have a streaming service, I'll get a notification that says, "A big play made by Alvin Kamara." So then I'll just flip to that channel real quick, watch it, and then I'll go right back away from it. Like, that's how boring that game is to watch.
Yeah, Kamara, he got back. He was get right game for him. Winston, career or season high in passes. He went
attempts.
15 of 30, but he had 4 touchdowns.
Again, it's not going to happen every week.
If you're going off of Ryan's model, even weeks are bad. Odd weeks are good. Even weeks are bad.
But the Saints
this week they've got to bye.
So next week they're going to be good again.
Yep, on their first week back from their bye.
We'll see how it goes. I don't know who they play week 7, but we'll see how it goes.
Yep. As for the other side of this ball, you're not starting any of the Saints receivers still.
Actually, Callaway's had 2 good weeks. I know it's been against the Giants and the Washington football team, but
he still only had 4 receptions, and you can't rely on 2 TDs.
Yeah, but if it's a 2 flex league,
potentially, if you're desperate.
I'm desperate. I might play him over Khalif Raymond.
Okay. As for the other side of this ball, Taylor Heineke, he had one of his worst games so far. Yeah. Actually, probably his worst game so far.
Yes, it was awful.
Antonio Gibson, he's not the complete workhorse you were drafting him to be, but he's still not going to be a team killer for you. J.D. McKissick. Yeah, J.D. McKissick, he only ended up with 2 carries for -1 yards and 1 reception for 8 yards. I don't like the guy.
It's not his fault.
I know.
But I get it, because we both dislike Taysom Hill because he vultures Kamara. I get it.
Which, hopefully Taysom Hill's okay. He left with a concussion.
Yeah, nobody wants to see somebody get hurt.
Humphreys went 3 for 73. Carter, 4 receptions, 62 yards. He could be somebody to keep an eye on in deeper leagues as long as Deandre Brown is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry McLaurin, we kind of said it. He was going to be shadowed by Marcus Lattimore, who is one of the best corners in the league. He still went 4 for 46, so...
Not terrible.
Not terrible, not going to kill you, but not really going to help you. A name I kind of wanted to throw out, though.
Ricky Seals-Jones!
Ricky Seals-Jones. For as long as Logan Thomas is out, this offense does seem to run a lot through their tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricky Seals-Jones, he had 5 receptions for 41 yards. And even when Thomas went out, he was still involved in that game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones could be another guy to keep an eye on.
Got a lot of games to go.
Yep.
All right, Philly at Carolina, man.
Philadelphia won this game 21-18.
But it wasn't really anything that the Eagles' offense was able to do. The Panthers' defense played exceptionally well. I think the Philly defense had a safety and maybe a touchdown somewhere in there.
On this, though, Jalen Hurts, he has not scored less than 25 points this year, fantasy points. And at one point, I remember looking at him in my lineup. I was like, man, he's only got 5 points and it's the fourth quarter. And then I look at during in the middle of the second set of games, and I was like, wait, where did this 25-point game come from?
Yeah, I mean, he's sneaky. He gets it done with the legs.
Yeah.
So that's a huge... I like my mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I was really down on Hurts at the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have been wrong. He is a viable fantasy quarterback. I still don't know if he's a valuable NFL quarterback, but...
Right now, there's still 12 other QBs to play above him. But, I mean, 25 points a week, that's okay.
I mean, he's being consistent, and it's better than Tannehill's 17 he put up this week for me.
Yeah, you're right.
Which I was touting above Hurts. Sanders, 11 carries, 45 yards, 5 receptions, 6 yards. You're probably still not starting one of these running backs.
Yeah, I'm not playing Sanders or Gainwell right now.
Devante Smith, 7 receptions, 77 yards, and 1 fumble. He's the wide receiver you're running out there right now. And Goddard and Ertz, they're kind of the dart throw tight ends as well right now.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get from this offense. So
honestly, it sucks that these two tight ends are on the same team.
Yeah, because the TE1s anywhere else they'd be great.
As for the other side of this ball, Darnold, he had one of his worst games as Panther right now.
It was almost like he was back in New York.
Yeah, seeing ghosts.
Seeing ghosts out there.
He ended up with 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, only 177 yards passing. Didn't have much of a rush game. Chuba Hubbard actually had a decent game. 24 carries, 101 yards, 5 receptions, 33 yards. Until McCaffrey's out, you're running Chuba Hubbard out there.
Yeah, I would agree.
And DJ Moore was the only real viable receiver with 5 receptions, 42 yards for him.
I know it was a bad week for DJ Moore, but you're still plugging and playing him.
If you have Robbie Anderson and you're still sitting on him, go ahead and drop him.
Yeah, he hasn't done jack squat since week 1.
Our next game, Tennessee at Jacksonville. Might as well call them Tennessee Derrick Henrys. Tennessee won 37-19. Tannehill 14-22, 197 yards, 1 TD, 3 carries, 21 yards. He's not the quarterback I was hoping for him to be this year.
No, it's really strange. I think this defense is a little worse than it was last year, so that I think they're heavily running the ball with Henry a lot.
Yep. Henry, 29 carries, 130 yards, 3 TDs. Nothing more needs to be said.
I think he's the only NFL player with 5 games of 100-plus rushing yards and 3 touchdowns.
I don't know. Marcus Johnson, I'm not even sure who that is. 3 receptions, 52 yards. A.J. Brown, 3 receptions, 38 yards. Better days are ahead, especially once they get Julio. Ferkser, 3 receptions, 33 yards. Tight end dart throw. Literally, you could probably put a dartboard on your wall, put a picture of each tight end, and just throw a dart at half of them, and you'll probably do well.
I'll let you talk about Lawrence. I'm gonna cover on that James Robinson fella.
You're gonna let me talk about
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
All right, Lawrence, 23-33, 273 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, 7 carries, 28 yards, and 1 TD. This is kind of the Trevor Lawrence I was expecting to see most of the year. Mm-hmm. He's getting smarter with his throws, and the good news is he's using his legs more, similar to like what we saw him do at Clemson. I'm still not starting him in redraft, but Dynasty League or Superflex, I think he's a viable quarterback too. And in fact, I'm probably starting him over Goff next week.
QB2.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him. May I talk about this James Robinson kid?
No.
Joe, I love this kid. I picked him up off of waivers last year. It might have been a free agency ad. I don't know. in our redraft league.
Pretty much everybody picked him up. Even in Dynasty, most people picked him up off the waivers.
And I somehow got him, and I drafted him 6th or 7th round this year in our redraft.
Well, at the time when we drafted, Travis Etienne was still a thing.
Yeah,
Urban Meyer, why did you draft Etienne when you have Robinson?
The kid can do it all.
Money could have been spent somewhere else.
Like on a lineman?
On your defense.
Yeah, especially. But, I mean, Robinson had 18 carries, almost 150 yards and a touchdown. He only saw 1 target this week. He had 1 reception for -2 yards. But we've seen him get 7 to 8 targets a game. So he's a viable option.
The worst thing is, this game, we saw Carlos Hyde vulture a 4th and goal from the 1 yard line. And then lose 5 yards.
Yeah,
5 yards.
Was it 5? Yeah, lost yards, man. And
why? I understand, like, he played for you at Ohio State, but Carlos Hyde is not good anymore.
Urban Meyer has never been good at coaching. He just went to big programs where he could get all the best players. Like, and now it's not playing Purdue anymore. All right, so you got to do some actual.
If you play Purdue at West Lafayette, he loses to him.
Yeah, that's true too. But I mean, come on, man.
Dan Arnold, we mentioned 6 receptions, 64 yards, and like I said, I think he led the team with 8 targets.
Yeah, I like that guy.
Laviska Shenault, 1 reception, 58 yards, and Marvin Jones, 1 reception, 25 yards. I think it's time to ditch these two.
Yeah, and we just saw stuff come out. We're gonna get Shenault involved. Okay.
And the thing is, Tavon Austin, he's been in the league for a while. I think he was on St. Louis, or the Rams, when they were in St. Louis.
Yes, he was.
5 receptions, 54 yards.
He was there with Isaac Bruce.
Agnew, who has cornerback and wide receiver availability in sleeper. 6 receptions, 41 yards. I'm not expecting that out of those two. Better days are probably ahead for Jones and Shenault, but I'm probably dropping Jones in the league. I have him.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you there. This offense is just too flimsy other than Robinson.
All right, so our next game, New England at Houston.
What a barn burner.
Houston, they I don't know how they lost this game. They end up losing 25-22. Mac Jones had a very efficient day, 23 of 30, 231 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Harris, 14 carries, 58 yards, and 1 really bad fumble at the end of the game.
Yeah.
He's also battling, I think, some chest injuries. You're not starting any running back on this team now. If you wanted to take a flyer, Ramondre Stevenson had 11 carries. He might be the guy to go to. But this might be a time that Belichick just needs to say, I know you're a rookie, but we just got to let you throw it.
Yeah, I mean, they threw it 50 times against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he did really well.
And Derrick Henry, if you're looking for a tight end, he might be the Hunter Henry.
Derrick Henry plays running back for the Titans.
Derrick Henry looks like he could be a tight end.
Derrick Henry looks like he could play any position on the field.
Hunter Henry, 6 receptions, 75 yards, 1 TD. He seems to be setting himself apart from Jonnu Smith.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Davis Mills, 21 of 29, 312 yards, 3 TDs, 1 carry, 2 yards. Who thought Davis Mills would be the rookie QB that could figure out Bill Belichick's defense?
I don't know. That's what he did at Stanford. You know, he's a very accurate thrower at Stanford.
Davis Mills, he was actually, I think, the top-rated quarterback when Stanford recruited him. He never panned out at Stanford.
No. But he's always been a very accurate quarterback.
All 3 running backs for Houston were involved. You're not starting any one of these guys.
No, not yet. Not until somebody sets themselves apart.
And Cooks, he had a rough game, 3 receptions, 23 yards. He still had 5 targets, but the guy that was shadowing Cooks, he just did a darn good job.
Is that Gilmore? No,
it wasn't Gilmore.
Gilmore got
was
traded. It was one of their safeties, but I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
but
better days are ahead for Cooks.
Yeah, I luckily pulled him for Kenny Galladay, who put up 5+ points then.
All right, so we're going to kind of try to go a little more rapid fire.
Chris Connolly might be a flex option for you guys out there.
I probably want to see it a few more times.
Yeah, I mean, I've been high on Chris Connolly for a while now, but he had a pretty good game.
Our next game, we had Chicago Bears at the Las Vegas Raiders. Chicago ended up annihilating the Raiders 20-9.
You won by 11 points, so it's not annihilating somebody.
It didn't look that close.
It was a pretty convincing win. I don't know if Las Vegas is just distracted by the whole John Gruden thing. If that's the case,
we've seen this from the Raiders in the past. They'll start out hot and then they get very streaky.
Yeah, and I said it before. It's usually around the 8-game mark, but I think last week I said did it start early this year? So we'll see.
Fields ended up 12 of 20, 111 yards, 1 TD.
Yay! Such a great day for Justin Fields.
You're not starting Fields. You're avoiding the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Running back wise, though, well, Mooney still only had 3 receptions for 35 yards.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a good defense. This Raiders defense is pretty solid.
It is, but I'm still not trusting. I mean, Mooney's the only one I would consider, but I'm not trusting any of them.
I wouldn't play Mooney against the Packers next.
When there's only 20 passes in a game.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Herbert and Williams kind of split the carries. Herbert had 18 carries, 75 yards. Williams 16 carries, 64 yards. 1 TD and 2 receptions for 20 yards. It's hard to tell what's going to happen with this backfield still.
I see you got no notes here.
Yeah, I noticed. I missed the Raiders.
Well, there wasn't really much to talk about when you scored 9 points. So.
I will say one thing I did want to bring up was about Josh Jacobs. And I want to find it now again. Josh Jacobs has been targeted 5 times in each of his last 2 games. That's something we've been wanting to see from Jacobs, and something they said they were going to do last year.
That's what he did at Bama. He caught the ball out of the backfield.
if they continue getting him some passing work,
he might be another RB2.
He's going to be more valuable. It used to be he was only valuable in their wins. Mm-hmm. With the passing work, he's going to be valuable no matter when.
I agree.
Kenyon Drake can be dropped.
Yeah, see ya.
Cleveland at Los Angeles Chargers. This game was just a straight back and forth. Punch, counter punch.
89 total points were scored.
The thing is, with Cleveland, it was David Njoku and their running backs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out and pick up David Njoku.
No. He had a 71-yard reception for a touchdown.
Even then, though, he still had 7 receptions for 149 yards.
Right.
But the tight ends in here, it's been pick out a guy each week.
Well, besides that touchdown catch for 71 yards, it's 6 for 48. Right? So even then, that's not bad. That's
it's more than 6 for 48.
He had 7 receptions.
For 149 yards.
Okay.
That's at least 70 yards still.
That's what I said, 78.
Oh, it's not like you said 48.
Oh, my bad. 78. No, sorry. I mean, yeah, that's a good day. That's 13 points right there.
Yeah, as for the other side of this ball, I mean, you're starting Hunt, you're starting Chubb. Other than that,
yep.
I'd avoid Cleveland.
For right now. I think once OBJ or Landry is back, it helps OBJ.
I think Landry at least be viable. I want to see it from Beckham. Mm-hmm. Honestly, right now, if I have Beckham, I'm trying to trade him based off of name value.
Yeah.
For the other side of the ball, Herbert he's looked good from day one.
Since last year when he took over
against the Chiefs in the second week.
Yeah, I mean, this guy...
On short notice.
This guy, he's... Yeah, he's the real deal.
Austin Eckler, 17 carries, 66 yards, 2 TDs, 5 receptions, 53 yards, 1 TD. He did have 2 fumbles, though. Mm-hmm. And one of those touchdowns, he didn't even mean to score.
What?
Late in the game, the Browns were like, we need them to score so we have a chance.
Right.
And he tried to stop short of the goal line, and the Browns tackled him in the end zone. Kind of picked him up and carried him in there.
That's pretty funny.
So, I mean... Eckler's everything we want him to be and more, I think. Mm. Mike Williams, I think he's taken over the wide receiver 1 role on this team.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, he's still usable, but he's not doing what he used to do for us.
Nah, Williams is the guy you want.
All right, so our next game. Plethora of injuries here.
Lots.
New York Giants at Dallas. I'm not really going to go over the stats for Glennon Jones or Booker. We talked about those.
Yeah.
Saquon, he's labeled as week to week. He's missing this week, most likely for sure.
We spoke on it. Yeah, Kadarius Toney, man, he's cemented a role in this offense going forward.
Do you like my stat line for him? 10 receptions, 189 yards, 1 carry, 7 yards, 1 ejection. Evan Ingram, as long as these receivers are out, he's going to be a guy that's getting targets. It feels dirty to play him. Feels dirty to talk good about him.
Yeah, I had my struggles with him. But I think no matter what happens with Galladay, drop him.
Yeah, Galladay hyperextended knee. He's at least sitting out this next week.
Drop him. And redraft, drop him. He's not.
As for the other side of this ball,
Yep,
everybody you typically would use was usable. Prescott, Zeke, even Pollard, Lamb, Schultz, and Cooper. No reason to go any deeper in on these.
Whenever Gallup comes back, he might do well.
Gallup will, I think, might take away a few targets, but it's more so going to be Cedric Wilson's targets that he's taking.
True.
Which, Dynasty League, Cedric Wilson's a guy to keep an eye on. Gallup's a free agent at the end of this year. They're not going to pay him enough to stay.
Right.
All right, so next we got 2 more games. San Francisco at Arizona. Arizona won 17-10. Lance, he has the ability to be a good quarterback. I think it's just going to take a little bit more time.
It's growing pains, man. That's all it is with young quarterbacks. And we're seeing it with Zach Wilson. We're seeing it with Mac Jones. We're seeing
when
it
you're
with
missing
Justin
a guy
Fields.
like Kittle.
Yeah, when you're missing your best players. And he's good. And he's got a bright future.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say bright future. He's got a future in the league.
And as we said, Elijah Mitchell's a man in
Yeah.
that backfield. Trey Sermon, I think, played 1 snap.
Yeah, you're avoiding this backfield though, like the
No,
plague.
you're not. I'm starting Mitchell if I have him.
Okay, that's fine.
Mitchell, 9 carries, 43 yards, 2 receptions, 18 yards. And especially with Garoppolo back, I think it's only going to get better.
Yeah, and
Because Garoppolo actually targets the running back a little bit more.
yeah, and Deebo Samuel, I think, is the only wide receiver here. Ayuk hasn't really shown enough for me.
Kyler Murray, he had a better NFL day than a fantasy game. You're going to get those from him sometimes.
20 points, man.
He only had 1 rushing yard, which is out of the norm for him, and he had 2 fumbles.
Well, he had 1 rushing yard because he got sacked like 5 times.
The sacks don't count against that.
He had a 12-yard rush at one point, and then the kneel downs at the end of the game cost him rushing yards.
But sacks don't count against that in the press.
I don't know what they count against, but he was sacked for at least 50 yards.
Connor, 10 carries, 29 yards, 1 TD. He's vulturing Edmonds, who I think Edmonds was kind of scaled back a little bit more this week because of an injury. DeAndre Hopkins doing DeAndre Hopkins things.
I mean, he didn't have like a huge day, but he had a pretty good day. And he's one of those wide receiver ones that you just put him in there and you just leave him.
And like we talked about AJ Green being a pickup. Like I said last week, and Ryan was gung-ho on Green.
I still didn't play him.
Any one of those 3 receivers can go off any week. And this week we saw it was more. 5 receptions, 59 yards, 3 carries, 38 yards.
Nice little 15-point day. And Moore's the returner.
So
Moore's going to get return yard.
If your league does that, yes.
Yeah, if you do return.
So if you want to roster one of those 3 guys, just remember it's going to be kind of like a dart throw with any one of those 3.
Well, right now it's almost every 2.5 weeks that Rondell Moore goes off.
And last night's game, Buffalo at Kansas City. It turns out I did not put the score in here, but Buffalo won that game pretty handily.
Oh, it wasn't like 38-21.
Something like that. Josh Allen, very efficient, very good game. No reason to talk about him more, other than he was the leading rusher for the Bills.
Which is just crazy.
Moss is the back you want. 11 carries, 37 yards, 3 receptions, 55 yards. He's getting more passing work than Singletary right now.
Right, and I just think because the Bills' defense has been playing so well, this offense hasn't had to utilize everybody yet. But Sanders, man.
Yeah, Sanders ended up 3 for 54. Diggs, 2 for 69. He should have had a touchdown, but I think he was kind of looking around the showboat a little bit.
I'm talking about Emmanuel Sanders here.
Yeah.
He had 2 touchdowns. 3 receptions, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yes.
I didn't put the 2 touchdowns.
No, but I was just letting you
missed that
know.
one.
Dawson Knox had a touchdown. I think Diggs had one as well. I could be wrong on Diggs, though. It doesn't matter.
Whenever Knox catches the ball, can we just start saying who's there? Knox.
He's there.
Yeah, Knox, like I said, 4 receptions, 117 yards, and TD. It's still not great volume, but he's got that TD upside, and he has Josh Allen throwing to him.
Yeah, that's all you really need.
The other side of the ball, Mahomes, 33 of 54, 272 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, but he did have 8 carries for 61 yards. And a lost fumble, which was That was just bad on that snap.
Yeah, that wasn't.
I think it was his fault. It went right by his hand.
Yeah, it went right through his hands, but that's just bad luck. That's just not your night. One of his interceptions was a pick six from like 30 yards out.
Yeah, we mentioned Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No reason to go further into it. Williams, 5 carries, 27 yards, 3 receptions, 18 yards. His workload's going to go up with Helaire out.
Hardman was a surprise. Hey, I'm here again.
Depending on the severity of Hill's knee injury, Hardman could be the guy, but it also could be Mahomes starts spreading it out more too.
Yeah, it could be keep an eye on Pringle.
Yeah, Pringle, DeMarcus Robinson, or Gordon. Who knows?
Nobody.
I'm probably not taking a shot at any of those other guys. But
I forgot how big Josh Gordon is.
He only looked like he got bigger too.
I don't know if it's a good bigger or not.
Like he's always kind of looked like an upper body trapezoid.
Yeah, he's big, dude. He's like a DK Junior.
Tyreek Hill though, 7 receptions, 63 yards, 1 carry, 15 yards. But it looked like anytime he touched the ball, it was close to the line of scrimmage, and he had to make multiple people miss.
Yeah, and he does a good job at it, but he had a couple of drops there too.
Yeah, and then Travis Kelce, 6 receptions, 57 yards, 1 TD. He had a good game, but I don't know. It just feels like they're not using Kelce the same that they have been.
I think that Buffalo defense had the players and personnel to stop Kelce, and that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I think they ran cover 2 with a man spying Kelce, and that's what they did.
And I texted this to you last night. That game made me feel even more confident in my accidental Buffalo championship Super Bowl bet. You know, I did say it was going to be Packers-Bills in the championship.
Hey, I mean, if it pays out big money, it pays out big money. Who cares, right?
Yep. So, real quick, we'll try to go over Thursday night's game real quick. We got the Bucs at the Eagles. Brady did have a hurt thumb, but they're saying that's not going to be any issue.
I don't think.
You're starting the normal Bucs. You're starting Hurts. You're starting
Devante
Smith and the 2 tight ends.
You think you're starting Goddard and Hurts?
I would start I'd start one or the other. Yeah, it's a tight end dart throw.
Yeah, it's the toughest. It's the toughest.
Unless you have Kelce or Waller, you're starting, or even Knox, you're starting one of those two. Most likely.
You're right.
All right. Anything you wanted to add before we close out?
No, hey, sorry for getting started so late. A lot of things going on. Busy weeks, busy days. I did some landscaping, so I understand why people don't want to do it and they just pay the money for it. But hey, thanks for joining us. I think I saw we had some views in here today.
Yep, man. We'll see you again on Thursday. Enjoy Monday Night Football.
We'll be back. Dun, 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 dun.